Are you trying to figure out what kind of lesson that you should record for your edTPA video lesson? If so, stay tuned for my 5 top tips. Hi, I'm Shelby with edTPA the Easy Way, and today we are going to talk about my 5 tips for what type of video lesson you should record for edTPA. Number 1, this is the absolute biggest thing that I think people make mistakes on. They are looking for student-centered engagement. They are not looking to see you teach. They want to see you video an activity that shows your students engaging with the content, with your lesson objective, talking with one another, and being engaged in learning. They are not looking to see you stand at the front of the classroom and teach. They're also not looking to see you give instructions on how to do the student-centered activity. And they're also not looking to see your students watch a video that then they're going to respond to. Do not waste your precious 15 or 20 minutes, however much you have based on your content, on any of that stuff. You need to think about a lesson that can show your students engaging in your content. Number 2, you need to look for an activity that can facilitate your students talking with one another about your lesson objective. This is in multiple places in the rubric in task 2, and they want you to specifically cite times where your students are talking with one another and engaging with each other about your content. Again, they don't want to see you. They want to see your students. So think about an activity, maybe a speed dating activity where they switch, partners and they have a question and they need to talk about it. Or you pose a question to the group. They're maybe seated in individual groups and they have to come up with an opinion that then they can share together. Okay? Think about an activity like that. Not just some drill and kill activity or not taking notes. Even if they're the coolest notes, you have the Prezi with all the things that move. No. Student-centered engagement. Okay, that's back to number 1. My 3rd tip is that you should look for an activity that allows your students to share different opinions about how they arrive to their answer. Again, in task 2, there are specific places that say, are your students able to respectfully discuss differing opinions? And here's a bonus point. This is free, by the way. There is a line there that says you can get, depending on your content level, either a 4 or a 5 if you remember on video, like recorded, to remind your students to discuss their ideas respectfully. You just have to say it. Remind your students, hey guys, I know we might have some different opinions during this segment, but I want you to please remember it's okay to have different opinions and I want you to share them respectfully and listen well. You automatically get extra points for that. If you cite it in your commentary and say, you can see at minute 3:30 where I remind my students to discuss respectfully. So come up with an activity where your students are actually discussing something with one another and they might have a different opinion at how they got to their answer or what the answer might be. Tip number 4, your activity should be something where you can facilitate the use of a language support with your students. This word, the language supports, is all through both planning, instruction, and you get major points for this. Language supports can be anything from really specific supports for English language learners, even to, this is new vocabulary, and I've made a handout for you today with the new vocabulary word, a picture that goes with it, and a quick definition that we're going to jot down together. Or, hey, why don't you pull out from maybe your interactive notebook or your notes from earlier this week, the Frayer model that we made for these few words so you can remind yourself how to use these words in context. If you can remind your students to do that, or you can document on video that they are pulling out a piece of paper or something that is a language support for them, helping them with vocabulary, or sentence starters. If you're wanting them to discuss things with other students, sometimes that's hard for students and it's awkward, but if you give them little sentence starters like, what I heard you say was blank, but I think blank, right? That's a language support. It's helping them with discourse, or maybe it could help them in another area use vocabulary. Think of an activity where they're going to have to use specific vocabulary that goes with your lesson objective, and you can verbally, on camera, encourage your students to use this language support and then cite that timestamp in your commentary, and you will get major credit on not only task 2, but also task 1, because that language support is going to be in your plans that you are going to submit. Okay, and last but not least, my tip number 5 kind of comes back to tip number 1, but do not submit a video of yourself standing at the front of the classroom and teaching a lesson. Don't do it. That's not what they want to see. They want to see your students interacting with the student-centered engagement activity that you have come up with that's going to facilitate deep learning and deeper thinking within your students, that's going to stretch their minds, and that's not an easy thing, right? It's easy for students to sit and take notes. They want higher order thinking questions. They want to see your students, this is also in the rubrics, not be able to answer a question right away. So if you have some questions that you're going to ask, right, make sure that it's something where your students are going to have to pause and think. Or if maybe it's not, if you've got a bunch of like really snappy kids, tell them, I want you to take 30 seconds to think by yourself. Now take 30 seconds to share with your group, and now share with the class. And in that 30 seconds of silence, when they're thinking, you can document that they were not able to answer right away. Okay, so again, biggest thing, don't film yourself teaching. Don't submit chunks of time you giving instruction. Okay, you're gonna get to tell them in the commentary what is going on, what's happened before, what's happened afterwards, so they don't have to see that on the video. So jump right into the activity where students are working together and have a long stretch of time where you can see different things happening, different students interacting. Cite them all in your commentary, and remember my 5 tips, and I really think you will do great on task 2 of edTPA. If you like this video, I hope you would give it a thumbs up. I am a new YouTuber, but this is what I'm going to be doing every week. I plan on posting 1 video a week on edTPA tips. I just took the edTPA and got my scores back. I took it in middle grades math, and I got a 62 out of 75. I did this by lots of planning, and I broke apart the rubrics, and I want to share the things I found with you that helped me almost guarantee the score that I got. My goal was to get a 4 on every section, and I went through the rubrics, looked and saw what I needed to do to get a 4, and I did those things. My average on each section was a 4.13, so I either got a 4 or a 5 on most of my sections. So it is doable. If you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions, please comment below. Anything you want me to do a video on, it's very fresh in my mind right now. So if you want to see more, subscribe so you get notifications when I post a new video next week. And I hope to see you guys soon. Happy edTPA!